I think I'm live. I think there's only 6 people there though. Hi everyone. I'm trying this again. If you tuned in last night, yeah, there was a bit of a problem, wasn't there? I'll wait for people to fill up before I start talking about what I want to talk about tonight. Do you want to hear a song? I'll sing you a song if you want. It sort of depicts where we are at the moment, the state of play, the state of the world. Nate Silver at 538 tells us this race is close. There's blue check marks on social media scream get out and vote. And somehow we all now blame Bill Gates for authoritarian state control, while the left all get cancelled for the slightest mistake, but Bill Maher can tell shit jokes on his chat show. He's a neoliberal sellout tonight, the same as tomorrow. And nothing ever happens. Nothing happens at all. The Democrats or the Republicans win, but the bombs carry on like before. And they'll still be bombing tonight, the same as tomorrow. Gentlemen, time please, you know we can't serve anymore. It's 10:01 and the COVID cops are at the door. And if you're not enrolled in track and trace, you're a Russian traitor to the cause. And if you think our nurses deserve a big rise, I'm sorry, all they get is a weekly round of applause. They'll be undervalued and underpaid tonight, the same as tomorrow. And nothing ever happens, everybody. Nothing happens at all. The Labour Party or the Conservatives win, but we're still getting screwed like before. They'll be fucking us over tonight, the same as tomorrow. There you go. I wrote you all that song because I think it pretty much depicts the state of play at the moment. So yeah, I'm sorry about last night, everybody. I'm really sorry. I haven't got live on YouTube for quite a while, and in between me going live and going live this time, YouTube have added a button, and it's a big blue button called Go Live, and I didn't press it. And that's why, basically, you ended up seeing nothing, and then about half an hour later me yammering at the screen, because I really did do a show. I did about 3/4 of a show before, the fiancé emailed me to say, yeah, you're not live, mate, where are you? Anyway, I've got a lot to talk about today. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. What a nice voice, says Gene Peace. Thank you, Gene. That's very nice. Very nice of you to say it. Did you write this, says Kevin Rathbone. Of course I did. Well, Delamitri had a hand in it, of course. So, I want to talk about Jeremy Corbyn, everybody. So it's settled. Jeremy Corbyn hates the Jews. Yes, according to the so-called Equality and Human Rights Commission, arguably the most anti-racist MP in the history of UK Parliament is actually a racist anti-Semite who hates the Jews and has rightfully been suspended now from Labour Party he used to lead after years of Jew-hating behaviour. At least that's the take you will get if you listen to our wonderful, truth-loving media. So who knew, eh? Jeremy Corbyn's a Jew-hater. You know, our journalists would try and convince the British public that Mary Berry hated cake, that David Attenborough clubbed baby seals to death in between scenes for sport, and that the most successful journalist in history of our time was a rapist, if they thought it would advance their career. At what point do we say, aren't we better off without the media? He was asking that question years ago. He's currently held in a maximum security prison without charge after a decade of torture And this is not happening in Turkey or Saudi Arabia. It's happening just down the road from the Woolwich Centre in London. They weaponised rape to get him. They called him a rapist. Do you think they'd stop at calling Jeremy Corbyn a racist if it meant that they furthered their career? If it meant that, you know, they were skipping to the tune of the state? They called Julian a rapist. And now the media have weaponised racism. And we are facing the news all saying that the EHRC have published their report, and it turns out Jeremy Corbyn is a raging racist, anti-Semite, Jew hater. I'm serious, man. This is basically, if you've been watching the media over the last 24 hours like I have, this is what you're going to get from it. Look at him. Look at that man. Look at that face. Isn't that a face screaming, the only thing bad about the Holocaust is that it just happened that once? So this report that came out, this report, found the Labour Party was just riddled with anti-Semites, right? I mean, they got the main man suspended as a result of it, so it must be. Right? The Labour Party must be riddled with them. Labour must be just chock-a-block with dirty socialists who think the Jews own all the banks and run the world. Right? Okay, let's look at the report. Let's dive in. Our investigation found that the Labour Party breached the Equalities Act 2010 by committing unlawful harassment through the acts of its agents in 2 of the complaints we investigated. These include using anti-Semitic tropes and suggesting that complaints of anti-Semitism were fake or smears. So one of them, they're calling unlawful harassment, I call pointing out the truth. This has been weaponised by people. 2. They found 2 instances. Jesus Christ, man. Like most people, this year has took a real toll on my mental health. And at times it's been a real challenge to keep sane. Is it any wonder? Can you see why? This is preposterous. The media, our media, are trying to tell you that black is white. They're trying to tell people that up is down, that back is front, that inside is outside, and wrong is right. Trying to label Jeremy Corbyn an anti-Semite is like calling Jeremy Clarkson an eco-warrior. Or calling the girl from Countdown an unwilling tool of the British establishment. Because trust me, she's willing. If ever anybody asks you what you think about that girl on Countdown, by the way, just respond with, I like Carol Vorderman. Get her name trending on Twitter instead, because she's a national treasure. By the way, I love you, Carol. Properly love you. You never did give me that date I asked you on. So, other things which were in this so-called EHRC's report on anti-Semitism in the Labour Party include this. Number 1, there have been improvements in the rate of determining cases. This is all under Jeremy Corbyn's watch. Number 2, the EHRC figures show that following an increase in NCC membership, the rate of determining cases grew by 83%. EHRC say Labour improved the quality of cases heard once Jenny Formby took over. Labour NEC panels heard 242% more anti-Semitism cases in 2019 compared to 18. Number 5, EHRC noted that Labour expanding the size of the NCC by Jenny Formby allowed it to hear more cases. Number 6, EHRC. The Labour Party has recently introduced reforms which improve the ability of the NEC and NCC panels to decide cases. Number 7, EHRC notes, quote, improvements to the sanctions system. Number 8, the increase in expulsions from the EHRC sample process had tripled in 2019 compared to the 3 years previously added together. Number 9, EHRC, the Labour Party. This is a quotation. The Labour Party has made some improvements which have resulted in an increased use of sanctions for anti-Semitic conduct. And number 10, the EHRC did not find that Labour was institutionally anti-Semitic. It's strange, isn't it? Because all of those things, they paint a great picture of the way Labour under Jeremy Corbyn have dealt any anti-Semitism in the party. It's weird, isn't it? It's almost like they're all lying to you and then charging you for it. And in the case of the BBC, threatening your grandma with prison if she doesn't pay up to hear it, isn't it? Thanks to whoever put that together, by the way. I stole that off Twitter from somebody. I don't know who it was and I forgot where it's from. Oopsie, I'm very sorry, but it's right. Something else in this report, which was literally a footnote, on Chris Williamson, who you may remember lost the Labour whip last year due to accusations that he said Labour had apologised too much for anti-Semitism, was suspended, then unsuspended, then resuspended, then won his appeal only for Keith Vaz to be forced to change his mind the next day, leading to Chris being resuspended the next day for a pattern of behaviour, otherwise known as standing up for Palestinian rights, who then won his case against his own party in the High Court in October last year, only for the media to then say that he lost it, and he then went on to lose his Derby seat in the 2019 election, sitting as an independent MP for the first time after 40 years of devoted service to the Labour Party. I mean, surely they called him an anti-Semite, right? I mean, they kicked him out of the party and all sorts. I've highlighted the line that you need to see in this report. Chris Williamson successfully challenged the decision to reopen the complaint in the High Court. Quote, "It is not difficult to infer that the true reason for the decision in this case was that members were influenced by the ferocity of the outcry following the June decision. The NEC should decide cases fairly and impartially in accordance with the rules and evidence, and not be influenced by how its decisions are seen by others. Internal and press reaction to a decision are not of themselves proper grounds for suspension." So they found in favour of Chris Williamson. So why then, at the time, were these all the headlines? I reported this at the time and I said, no, he won. And I did a video saying they're all wrong, these people are, and the EHRC have just come out and said, yeah, they're all wrong. Here's the Guardian saying Chris Williamson loses legal bid over Labour Party suspension from last year. Wrong, he won it. MP Chris Williamson loses anti-Semitism suspension appeal. He won it in the High Court. Here's the Telegraph. Chris Williamson, MP, loses court battle to be reinstated to Labour Party. That's not what he was contending. So, as I and others in independent media correctly reported at the time said, Chris won that case. He was treated unfairly. He's not a racist. I've met him, trust me. He's about as far from one as you could get. But thanks to our media legitimising people who will weaponise racism for political gain, he still gets called one to this day. They've never apologised to him, ever. And now, our media are openly calling Jeremy Corbyn an anti-Semite. I heard Julia Hartley-Brewer do it quite loudly this morning. And if I was Jeremy Corbyn, I would sue that bint for every penny her privileged ass owns. I watched this all unfold yesterday. We did warn you this would happen, Jeremy. We did warn you that if you leaned into this smear the way you did, you will eventually lose to it. We did warn you if you didn't stand up for Chris, you'd be next. And here we are. Here we are. Now, if you are confused as to why he was suspended, Here's why. Even though the report didn't say it was institutionally racist or anything like that. It's down here. I'm going to read his statement out in full, and you'll see where Starmer and Hodge took issue. Let's have a drink of my coffee before I read this out. This is from Jeremy Corbyn. He said at the time, my statement, this is before he was suspended, my statement following the publication of the report, anti-Semitism is absolutely abhorrent, wrong and responsible for some of humanity's greatest crimes. Here's why you don't do that. Because this is nothing about anti-Semitism. Nothing. It's nothing about anti-Semitism or racism. We know this. It's all about silencing voices that standing up for Palestinian rights, and that's what it comes down to. And if you know what, if that becomes a crime, then you know what, I told you, I tried standing up. I tried standing up for you. But you wouldn't. You leaned into it every time. You muppet. I've said before, this was a tap-in. When they accused you that first, back in 2015, 2016, when this first started bubbling, you should have put Palestinian rights front and centre. You should have said, this is a smear. This is a smear because of what Israel are doing, the right-wing Zionist Israeli Likud party are doing to poor Palestinians in their illegal occupation of them. You should have done that. They would have scuttled back into their newsrooms with their tails between their legs and so on. I'm not asking him that again. He tears me apart. The last thing we want is for Israel's war crimes to be front and centre. What does he do? No. I oppose racism in all forms. This is what I said this was going to happen. I was really loud when I said it. I was screaming in a camera. Stand up! Sorry, that wasn't what he said, by the way. I just went on a rant. Here's what he said. Anti-Semitism is absolutely abhorrent, wrong and responsible for some of humanity's greatest crimes. As leader of the Labour Party, I was always determined to eliminate all forms of racism and root out the cancer of anti-Semitism. I have campaigned in support of Jewish people and communities my entire life, and I will continue to do so. The EHRC's report shows that when I became Labour leader in 2015, the party's processes for handling complaints were not fit for purpose. Reform was then stalled by an obstructive party bureaucracy. But from 2018, Jenny Formby and the new NEC that supported my leadership made substantial improvements, making it much easier and swifter to remove anti-Semites. My team acted to speed up, not hinder, the process. Anyone claiming there is no anti-Semitism in the Labour Party is wrong. Of course there is, as there is throughout society, and sometimes it is voiced by people who think of themselves as on the left. Jewish members of our party and the wider community were right to expect us to deal with it, and I regret that it took longer to deliver that change, and it should. One anti-Semite is too many, but the scale of the problem was also dramatically overstated, and this is what he got in trouble for. For political reasons. It was overstated for political reasons by our opponents inside and outside the party, as well as by much of the media. That combination hurt Jewish people and must never be repeated. My sincere hope is that relations with the Jewish community can be rebuilt and those fears overcome. While I do not accept all of its findings, I trust its recommendations will be swiftly implemented and help move from this period. That's what he got in trouble for. He just said, listen, the media have blown this up out of proportion. There are forces at work to try and blame this out of proportion. If you were to try and say to me otherwise, I will say, why are you gaslighting me, you asshole? Margaret Hodge was on the BBC just after this came out, just before he got suspended. And a journalist, use quotes and for that, asked her, does she think he should be suspended? And I was screaming, go on, Margaret, go on. You call him an effing anti-Semite to his face. You think somebody who is an effing anti-Semite should be in the Labour Party? Go on, say it. She wouldn't say it. And then Keir Starmer came out and he said, or rather their ruling body suspended him. This is what he's said since. This is his quote. On Facebook, I will strongly contest the political intervention to suspend me, says Corbyn. I've made absolutely clear that those who deny there has been an anti-Semitism problem in the Labour Party are wrong. It's also undeniable that a false impression has been created of the number of members accused of anti-Semitism as political shows, and that is what has been overstated, not the seriousness of the problem. I will continue to support a zero-tolerance policy towards all form of racism, and I urge all members to stay calm and focused while this problem is resolved amicably, as I believe it will be, to defeat this awful government which is further impoverishing the poorest in society. To defeat this awful government. Where do you think the racism has actually been in the last 4 years? Just think about this. Where do you think it's been? Where do you think the racists are? Jeremy Corbyn's been fighting against racism all his life. He's been standing up for the rights of Jewish people all of his life. The Tories actually implement racist policies. Racist policies that kick out British people, black British people who came over here from the Windrush generation decades ago, kick them out of this country after they have basically helped build it for nearly a century. Trying to label Jeremy Corbyn some sort of racist, quite frankly, it's insulting to my intelligence. It's insulting to the intelligence of the British public. At some stage we have to ask, I'll go back to it, because Julian Assange was asking this years ago. At some point we have to ask, aren't we better off without a lying media? Because that's who they are. They are lying to us. They are standing there, playing both sides, and have somehow shifted the limitations of the Overton window and acceptable conversation to how much of a racist is Jeremy Corbyn? That's essentially, those are the acceptable parameters of conversation you can have now on our media. How much of a racist is Jeremy Corbyn? Are you kidding me? I've asked my mate Chris Williamson to come on and do a podcast and talk to me about this, and he's accepted. We're just trying to sort out a time. Hopefully we'll get it done over the weekend, maybe early part of next week. I don't know. It's all up to Chris. That's the state of play, everybody. Jeremy Corbyn apparently is a raging racist anti-Semite who hates the Jews. Pull the other one, media. It's got bells on. You are quite disgusting, and any media personality out there right now who's repeating this and leaning into it, I swear to Christ, I hope you get what you fully deserve. You disgust me. You really do. And I think if you're listening to me, you know I'm right here. You know that they deserve all of your hatred. Because they're actively lying to you, then charging you for it, and in the case of the BBC, then locking your grandma up or threatening to you if she doesn't pay for their bullshit. Bullshit which will include, very soon, a report into the White Helmets, a propaganda report which honestly has more bullshit on it than the field over there with 100 cows in. And they're going to charge you for that, about the White Helmets. Then they're going to do a drama about Jimmy Savile. And how the BBC, we weren't really to blame and we didn't really know. And by the way, your grandma's going to pay for this bullshit. Your grandma's going to pay for it, and if she doesn't pay up, we're going to threaten to put her in prison. Stop watching the media. Stop it. Stop clicking their shit. Get your news from independent media who actually have brains in their heads and critical thinking skills, because it's pretty obvious that anybody at The Guardian, The Telegraph, the BBC, Sky News, or any of these goddamn legacy newspapers, which are news agencies, which quite honestly, history will not look kindly on them. Not at all. All right. That's all I've got to talk about on this podcast, everybody. Thank you very much for sticking with me while I had those technical problems yesterday. Hopefully it was worth the wait. Take care, everyone. I love you all. Jeremy Corbyn's not a racist, just in case you were wondering. Because according to our media, he is. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all soon.